we got a new GPS in 2764 Yankee. It's a Garmin GNS 430W, which is WAS approved. When you turn it on, it's going to go, when you turn the Avionics Master on and GPS is on, it's going to go through its startup sequence. The WAS GPS means that it's approved for precision approaches as well as non-precision GPS approaches. Okay, on this screen right here, the big thing that you're checking for is this bottom line. Make sure that the aviation database is not expired because that is required for us to fly IFR flight to have a current aviation database. The absolute clearance database, as you can see, is expired and that is not required. So what you're going to do here is hit enter, and then it's going to go through its self-test mode, and then you just double check on the HSI, etc., that all those things are displayed. Really all you need to do here is hit enter. Okay, now it's going to go through its acquiring the GPS mode. It needs at least 4 GPS to 4 satellites, excuse me, to operate. You'll see it go through this mode while it's doing that. And then once it gets to the screen, hey, it's got the satellite, it's good to go. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to hit this procedure button right here, PROC. So hit procedure, and then you're going to dial to select departure, enter, and then we're at North Las Vegas, and we're going to take off today on runway 12, so we're going to select the right turn 2 departure, enter, and then we now roll, and we're using the outer knob to roll and change the cursor. So the outer knob is changing the cursor position. So I'm going to roll the outer knob to runway 12 right, enter, and then right there you see it says, do you want to load this? Yes, we do, so we're going to hit enter. And then now you'll notice it's on the flight plan page and it's loaded. Next thing you're going to do is hit procedure one more time, procedure, select approach, enter. We're going to KVGT. You'll notice it has the last approach loaded on that, but that's not what I want. So yes, KVGT, so we're going to hit enter. And then now we roll to the approach that I want. GPS runway 12 right, enter, and we'll start it from SAQ, enter. Now do we want to load or activate it? We want to load because right now we have our departure procedure activated, so we don't want that activated yet. So we're going to load, enter. Okay, and you'll notice it has now loaded. Now this is the flight plan page. If I want to get back to the nav page, all I do is hit clear, and we're back on the moving map nav page. Here's your range scale. It'll auto range in and out. But as you notice on here, things that you can look for is your current route waypoint is Roscoe, which that's for the right turn 2. In fact, it even has the outbound radial 313 for Roscoe, which is this right here in magenta. Your active radial or your active course line is in magenta. So the way this for the departure procedure is set up, it's not going to draw the turn for you because basically after takeoff, it's right turn heading 250 to intercept this radial outbound. And then after that, the pure departure procedure is in a right to intercept this radial, the white one, inbound to Las Vegas. Now what we'll do is we'll just hit Roscoe and then we'll get radar. I'll give you radar vectors out to the practice area. And then you'll notice the thin line is the next GPS route, which is the GPS approach from the McCarran or LAS VORTAC. However, that's a thin line because that is not activated yet. Over here on the right, you have your current waypoint, the distance to that waypoint, your current ground track, and your ground speed. This is a combined Comm, VOR, and GPS radio. So right here you have your Comm Frequencies. Okay, the top one is the active one, the bottom one's in standby. The highlight is what will change if I turn this knob. See how it changes? To change the frequency. Okay, that's the bottom one. Now if I want to make that active on the Comm, I just swap them like that. And then down here in the VOR, it's the exact same thing. Swap, and then if I want the cursor down here to change it, I just push that button and it slides the cursor down there. Push this button in, Comm VOR. Okay. You'll also notice that we are in GPS mode. And what that means is the HSI is going to display the GPS track. Also down here, you have, that's the CDI, so that's what's on the CDI or HSI. Omni-bearing steering, messages. We're going to go to our flight plan or procedure. If we want to change, we're on the nav page. If we want to change that page, then we take the inner knob and that changes what pages in the nav chapter that we go to. That's terrain. That's just all the frequencies for our waypoint. As you can see, satellites, moving map, and then this just gives you a visual display. This is the one you'll primarily be on most of the time. And then you can range scale in. If you want to declutter the map, you hit the clear button while on the map, and it starts decluttering things away. Okay, now as you go to fly this departure, you want to make sure you're in GPS. It's legal to fly GPS for any procedure as long as it's not between the final approach fix and the missed approach point, unless it's a GPS approach as the final guidance. Anytime you get a message, go ahead and check it. Hey, it's saying set course to 316. That's the outbound radio for the departure procedure. So we're going to fly this departure procedure. We're going to go out to the area, and then we're going to practice some maneuvers. And then at some point, I'm going to go, hey, take me to SAQ, and I'll tell you to enter a hold. So at that point, you're going to hit procedure, activate approach, because we already have the GPS 1-2 right loaded. So we just activate approach, enter, boom. And what you'll notice now is the thick white line is GPS approach, and the magenta line is what we're currently on, which is, hey, this is taking you to SAQ, the initial approach fix. And what it gives you is a direct to steering to SAQ. So we know right there our direct track to SAQ, as well as if we're moving, when we're in flight, it'll give us a message that says, hey, steer 2293. Is that. So you know at this point, you can turn your heading bug, and you can turn to a heading of 293, and that's going to take you to SAQ. When you turn to that heading of 293, you go to SAQ, and then once you're inbound, then what I want you to do is I want you to center this needle so you're tracking the CDI direct to SAQ. Now, let's say I gave you a hold at SAQ. Like, for example, I want you to hold on the 159 radial standard turns at SAQ. Well, 159 radial, that's a 339 inbound, right? So what we're going to do at that point, to prevent the GPS from cycling through the approach once we get to SAQ, so we can hold, we have to hit OBS, omni-bearing steering. Now once we're in OBS mode, whatever we have entered on the HSI will remotely show down here and draw a line. So as we're driving to SAQ with our heading bug set, then what I want you to do is set the inbound course of the hold, 339. And if you look down here, you'll see drawn, that's the hold right there, magenta. And you know you're doing right-hand turns. So if we look at it and we're coming from this way, we know that we're going to just do a direct entry. So that'll help you determine what kind of entry you're going to do. Once you determine that, then I want you to recenter the needle and use this as your primary navigation to fly direct to SAQ. Okay? Once you get to SAQ, you'll see the flag change, and then you can turn, time, twist, auto track, talk, and enter your inbound heading while turning to your outbound on the tail. All right, you're establishing the hold. You do your hold, and you knock out a W holds check, and you're ready to start flying the approach. So on the next one, the next turn and hold, for example, you're going to commence the approach. At that point, what I want you to do is hit this OBS button. If you do not hit OBS, it will not, notice the approach is not drawn. But if you hit OBS, boom, now the approach is drawn. You'll notice too that that inbound radial stayed there for you. So you'll still have your inbound radio, you can intercept the SAQ, and then start your turn for the approach. Right down here when you fly the approach, you'll notice that it'll give you a countdown in white lettering. It'll say, right here, it'll say, turn direct track 062 in 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Turn 062 now. And at that point, that's your turn anticipation. As well as what you'll notice, which is not drawn here because we're not moving, is you will see a drawn turn anticipation for each point. And then as you hit Seikyu and you start turning towards Inaki, that will highlight magenta. And then when you hit Inaki, the next leg will highlight magenta, and that'll say Kimi. And then Amui, Biwa, etc. as you fly the approach. The other thing that's really nice about the 430W is even though this approach is a non-precision LNAV, lateral navigation only, for advisory purposes only, the GPS will calculate a glide slope for you, which will be displayed right here, the same as an ILS, as long as you're in GPS mode. Right now, you'll notice it's in terminal mode. When you get to Inaki, right here, just prior to your final approach fix, you'll see that it'll say LNAV plus V, and the glide slope will come alive. And at that point, you're going to fly it just like an ILS, and that will prevent you from missing any of your step-down fixes. So you fly this approach. At the end of this approach, you're outbound back again, radar vectors for the ILS. At that point, all you do is hit Procedure, roll the outer knob to Select Approach, Enter, roll the outer knob to ILS 1-2 left, Enter. Hey, do we want vectors to final or do we want to go to JOCUS? We just want vectors to final is what we're going to do. So Enter. You want to activate this? Yes. Enter. This is for monitor only, which is telling you, hey, you have to use the VOR or the ILS localizer frequency for your inbound course. Monitor only, yes. Boom, there it is loaded. We just hit clear, we're back on the map. You see it drawn out for us. And then you'll notice this auto changed the VLOC, which means VOR localizer, which means that is what's displayed on your HSI. However, always double check to make sure that it does not auto that it did auto change the VLOC and does not say VOR or GPS. The other thing you want to make sure is that your localizer is the prime frequency. Okay, so that'll be listed right there. You'll notice that it, rather than giving a DME to the localizer, it gives points on the approach. So you have KIGI, and then after KIGI, when you pass the final approach fix, then it will say runway 12 left. And at that point, 0.0, if you're doing a localizer, would be your missed approach point. Your current track, that is your current ground track. So when we are on the approach, which is a 120 inbound, so that's set, hey, 120 inbound. And if I'm flying 120 on my heading, but this says 115, that just told me what my crosswind correction is. So I need to correct to 125, 5 degrees to the right, so that I'm tracking a 120 on this with the needle centered. Your primary navigation is your HSI with the needle centered. And you'll notice that the glide slope also comes alive as well. Now at the end of this approach, let's say you go missed approach on this one and you want to fly the missed approach procedure. So at the end of this approach, what you would do is you would just, once you go missed, as you're climbing out, hit the direct button. Now, it's not going to display this. It will know that you just went missed approach. And it'll say, it'll put a box that says, hey, direct to Tupac, missed approach, and you just hit enter. And then it'll draw out the missed approach procedure for you. And you can swap to GPS mode and fly that off the missed approach procedure. If you ever get to a screen you don't like, just hit clear. After you complete this approach, right, and there's Tupac, the missed approach procedure drawn right there. After you complete this approach and you're going to do vectors for another one, all you have to do is hit procedure, roll activate vectors to final, enter, boom, done, you're ready for the next one. That's all there is to using the new 430.